to Gaming the System, the podcast where three intersectional feminists take a look at gaming through a feminist lens. And today we are Alex, Jem, and Matt. Hello, hello.
Hello.
And as we are drawing to the end of 2023, we're going to talk about our best games of 2023. It's been quite a year for gaming, as I'm sure many of you listening will know. Um, There's been lots of great games that have come out this year, but we're not necessarily going to talk about just games that have come out this year, just more the games that we've played this year and really enjoyed the most. So I think if we go around in a circle, as it were, we can start talking about our best games and maybe some of our worst games in no particular order, because I know it's hard to put it in order. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with Matt. Can you tell us one of your best games of the year?
So there's a game called The Outer Worlds,
Mm.
which is basically a sci-fi. Uh, it's by the studio that made Fallout New Vegas, Obsidian Studios, and they have just the most delicious writing ever. It's just utter joy to read all of it. And it's a sci-fi sort of what's the word where you're satire. So it's basically what a space has been colonized by corporations. So imagine if Amazon went and colonized somewhere, so everyone is an employee, and you get paid in script, and you have to rent a burial plot when you die, and when a coworker of yours dies, your coworkers have to pay for his burial plot, and it's just delightful in every way. And I spent about 2 or 3 weeks playing that and getting everything out of it, and it's just a quiet masterpiece.
Hmm. Brilliant. Jem, how about you? What's one of yours?
Um, well, I have to go for Baldur's Gate
Yeah.
because that it has been so much fun. We had a chat with a friend of ours, Finn, yesterday. And I think that will be coming up in the new year, perhaps. I think that episode. So check that out. But yeah, it was well worth the wait. I think we've been waiting 20 years for it. It's won like 6 awards. It's won Game of the Year. So it's not just me that thinks this. And I'm well over halfway through and really really enjoying playing it and sort of nervously awaiting the finish of it. And I think you can see the squirrel that is hanging
Oh, I
off
can
the
see.
it's reflected actually. There's a window there, but it's over there, and it's hanging off the bird feed. Well, hanging onto the bird feeder, stealing all the bird food. So, yeah, sorry if that's slightly distracting. They do also tend to fall down from there, so that's quite distracting for me. So, yes, so Baldur's Gate definitely.
Mhm. I think I'm going to have to join you on that. Gem, Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely one of my best games of 2023 for bringing me into the world of D&D, although not traditional tabletop D&D, which I'm sure many people will be telling me there's a big difference between Baldur's Gate and actual D&D on tabletop. But having not played anything like D&D, tabletop or otherwise, I can tell you I'm very much enjoying it, very engaged with the game. I think it's brilliant. And yeah, just really enjoying the experience, despite another crash earlier today. But luckily, we'd only just got into camp and started gathering ourselves. So no quick save horror as before, which was okay. But no, genuinely, there is a really brilliant game, and that's one of mine. So we'll go back around again to Matt. How about your next one?
Yeah, next biggest one was Horizon Forbidden West, which I played for a second time because there was a DLC that came out, um, and it had one of the best um, technically put together boss battles at the end. So that was a perfect example of how you do a massive big boss battle at the end. Because the writing is not particularly well, it is quite grating. Um, I chose to play it in Italian. So reading the words and hearing them spoken in this lovely language made it a wonderful. I was able to just enjoy the experience and played it for like 6 weeks. Um, and yeah, it did the platinum and just got every single drop out of it. And yeah, it's a great game that could be. It has transcendence in its grasp, and the game developers know will make her have no muscle,
Mm.
no underarm hair, will make her hair perfect, and so technical transcendence with social just mediocrity, unfortunately. But playing a game with bad writing in a foreign language makes it palatable, and yeah, I recommend other people do that.
Top tip for you there. Okay, Jem, what's your next one?
I'm really struggling actually because the the ones that kind of come to mind are usually like the really big name games, but I wanted to give a bit of a nod to the Wandering Village, which I came across because I was sort of exploring eco-critical gaming. So games that were commenting on the ecosystem and the climate crisis and all of that. And I came across this little sort of indie game that's about the far future where the land's all poisoned and nothing's sort of growing, and there's all sorts of poison clouds and things, and the last few humans are sort of nomadic tribes, and they find a giant creature, and sort of end up in this sort of symbiotic relationship with it. So they you live on their back and you build up your little village and you harvest things off their back and grow things there, and while the creature wanders through the land, and sometimes it might wander into a poison cloud, but you can eventually, once you've gained the creature's trust, you can redirect it and move, avoid the clouds and go and pick up other nomads. And yeah, so that was that was super fun game that kind of kept me occupied for quite a while. So yeah, I wanted to give that as a Wandering Village.
Nice. Nice. Definitely one to check out, I think. Um, for me, my next one, I'm going to go for. Matt's not going to like this. Star Wars Jedi Survivors is my next one, and I know Matt has some strong feelings against it for reasons he can feel free to explain if he would like. But no, I enjoyed it as an experience, as a continuation of Cal's story, although I was frustrated at the point at which it ended. No spoilers for anyone who hasn't played, but I felt it would go on for a little bit longer. But they're obviously building up for a third one, and so cut it at a point where I was not ready for it to end. Um, but yeah, no, generally, I think they've taken a lot of what they did with um, the first one, whose name escapes me, uh, Fallen Order, and kind of expanded it massively into, well, this one large planet that you can spend a lot of time on. And there's still quite a lot I haven't explored even after the end credits, because I think we focused a lot of our time on the main story. Um, but I think just in terms of spending time in a Star Wars universe as a gaming experience, I enjoyed that side of it, and yeah, as a Star Wars fan, that's that's something to be pleased with, I think. But yeah, still looking forward to other games upcoming in future. Um, but yeah, it's definitely one of ones I enjoyed playing this year. Hmm.
Um, I'll before I do my third best one. Yeah, I it was the front runner for the worst game of the year for me.
Mm.
And I only played it for like 2 hours, and then went, no, that is about as bad as Hogwarts Legacy as well.
Mm.
Jesus Christ! And you enjoyed that as well. So
I did, yeah,
very,
for different
um,
parts. Like there are parts of it that I'm finding quite repetitive now. Several hours, several tens of hours in, it has become quite repetitive. But in terms of the world building, like the actual Hogwarts Castle and Hogsmeade are like amazing pieces of work that lots of people have worked very hard on. And for those bits alone, I think um, it is really cool to see. But whether I would have paid that much for the actual gameplay, I'm not sure. Yeah,
yeah.
it's an
So
interesting one to talk about, definitely.
by far the head runner was Jedi,
Mm.
whatever it is, 2, and then Hogwarts, which was
Mm.
just that was playable
Mm.
at least. But smashing all of them out of the park is Fort Solace. I have been betrayed by Troy Baker
Oh no.
because it's Troy Baker and the actor who plays Arthur in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Ah.
So, two of the biggest voice actors ever, two of them on an abandoned space station with a spooky mystery. And I thought it was going to be so. I played the Callisto Protocol
Mhm.
and thought it wasn't particularly good. It looked good. It was spooky, but it was a bit limp, really. So I assumed this was going to be a terrifying, psychological, horrible thriller thing. And it's literally it's 3 hours long, and all you do is you walk slowly through an empty space station. No monsters, no story, and then all of a sudden it's finished.
Oh.
And it is utter. I am still shocked that this game exists. That it's allowed. That everything about it is how it exists. Because when if you're to give you an explanation of how slow it is, because if they allowed you to jog even, the game would be an hour long. The pace at which you walk is, when you're walking behind someone on the street and
Hmm.
they're just walking pointlessly slow,
Yeah.
and you're just behind them going, just let me, can I, no, and they just amble, just no, no, and that was the entire way through,
Oh
and
my
it
goodness.
was utter. At least the Jedi 2, it's a game. It's a game that is trying to do that says it's trying to do something, and Hogwarts is something that says it's trying to do something. This one is it's just zeros and ones, pointless zeros and ones, doing nothing, and it's one of the worst gaming experiences I've ever had.
Wow.
Mm.
Resounding there from Matt. Jem, do you have
Good.
anything more
I forgot that was meant to be an interlude between my third good one.
Ah, yes.
Um,
Yeah, go on.
it's so third good one, a late runner in coming out of nowhere really, was because now that I have my new laptop, which has opened up an entire universe of gaming for me, it is also allowing me to play games that I've played in the past through completely new eyes. And the biggest one that I've caught onto has been Death Stranding.
Ah, yes.
Starting Death Stranding again, and I've played it through twice, spent hundreds of hours in it, and now playing on my So I've got my laptop and I've got a 4K TV. And normally on PlayStation stuff, you can choose between either having 60 frames per second with full HD, or you can try and push it up to 4K, but it'll lower the frame rate. And I always choose 60 frames per second, so the resolution is less. But with this laptop, I can play at 4K resolution at 100 frames a second, and it's just stunning what this small little thing can do. And Jem's husband Daniel was instrumental in getting me this because the biggest thing was the graphics card, and I thought so. It's an NVIDIA RTX 4070. And when I was looking, I saw like the top end ones were 40, 60, 70, 80, 90. And so I thought, oh, 70, hopefully that'll be good. And I assumed that the 70 was be like 2 or 3 years ago, at least, because there are the different iterations. It's only 6 months old.
Wow, really?
The 4070 is
Wow.
only like 6 months old. So mine is at the absolute bleeding edge of the spear. And it's able to do these incredible things. And the laptop, I was assuming you'd have to pay like £5,000 for it, but it was only £1,400 for this insane, monstrous thing that is ready for gaming for the next 10 years. So the game that came in at number 3 is Death Stranding, and the VIP of the year is Jem's husband Daniel for allowing me to explore this new universe. So, 2 awesome things.
I won't let him watch this episode because that'll just go right to his head. Yeah, before I do mine, I was just wanted to ask actually, how do you two feel about games? Do you feel like you have to complete a game for it to be? I was just thinking about Hogwarts and these massive games, or Horizon. And I haven't played Hogwarts, but I did play Horizon New Dawn, and I haven't completed it, but I would still argue that I really enjoyed the game and that I got a very enjoyable experience out of it. Do you feel that you have to complete a game in order to have properly played it, or do you think that are you okay to sort of go, yeah, no, I've done this, I feel like I've seen enough of this game and I can move on to something else? Or
I think for me it depends how far I've got with it. Like with Horizon Forbidden West, I have started playing it, but I haven't really gone beyond sort of the first sort of early level area. Mainly just because other games came out and then I got distracted, which happens every time. So I know in my heart of hearts that I haven't really finished that game and that I should sit down and finish it. But I did very much enjoy it in the time that I did play. Whereas when I think about a game that I've poured hundreds of hours into and have not yet finished, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I haven't finished the main story, but I've played hundreds of hours, and I very much enjoyed that. But I feel like really I've probably completed it, and if I want to go back, I can do, but I could also just look up the ending on YouTube if I really wanted to, because I've put my time into that one, I think. Whereas with Horizon, I'd probably push myself to get back into the swing of it if I had a game-free calendar, as it were, with no imminent releases that I'd want to play. So I think in terms of answering that question, Jem, it does depend on like my own personal level of how much time I put into it and how much of the main story is left for me. Don't know if you feel differently, Matt.
Yeah, my game of the year I'll answer that question. That's connected to my game of the year, so I'll answer that when it comes to my last.
Okay.
awesome. Well, okay. So yeah, that's really interesting. It was just it was just a thought that came to me, and I was sort of, oh, I wonder how you feel about it. So one of my other games of the year is going to be The Last of Us 2, because it's just blooming amazing, um, and I have to thank Matt for sort of encouraging me to actually get all the way through that one, because I'm like you, Alex. I'm very easily
Yeah.
distracted away from a game, and I sort of obsess over it, and that's why Baldur's Gate 3 is getting such love from me at the moment, because it is holding my attention, which is quite rare. But Last of Us 2 was just so much fun, and it's nice to play um, just a game that's got such an involved story and has you kind of like laughing, crying, and hiding behind the sofa. And I think that's was really good, and it was also nice to play it ahead of the second season coming out on the live action TV series. So yeah, no, it's such a good game. It's dark, it's quite depressing, um, and it has quite a depressing story really all the way through. But it is extremely intelligent and creative, and just an example of a game that is 99% about violence and very strong, violent and aggressive and all of that, and yet still manages to do excellent character development and excellent story, and all of that. So yeah, that would be mine.
Hmm. Thank you, Jem. Well, I think for my next one, I'm going to go for a smaller game than my last one. This one was something I picked up in the PlayStation Plus free games that they have for the basic level. I can't remember exactly which month it was, but it's Dreams, which has been out for a number of years already. But as I say, got this as part of PlayStation Plus, and thought I'd give it a go because I'd heard a lot of good things about it. And it's very different to any other game that I've ever played, obviously, because there's like kind of two aspects to it. You can either play dreams that people have created, or you can like create your own dreams. So basically, it's like a way of making your own games or your own experiences for people to play in. Um, but also, you can just spend time in other people's creations. It's a very creative platform, and I got a real sense of the community that spends a lot of time there. And I really liked how approachable it was, how accessible it was. They had all sorts of options for searching for games. They had a whole section on accessibility where they had loads of games that you only needed to have one or two button presses for, all sorts of things that I'd never sort of thought about in that way. In a way, like having that presented in that way made me realize that, oh, yes, actually, people do want to prioritize this sort of thing, and they do care about um, showcasing those types of games, which is really lovely to see. But also, I liked it because I spent some time creating or recreating a little scene, jungle scene from Tomb Raider 3, and managed to find the music that accompanied the very beginning of Tomb Raider 3 in the jungle level, and made a little scene in which my little character could sort of run through as a jungle and have the Tomb Raider music playing that I'd created all by myself, which I was very pleased with. So I do quite enjoy that side of things occasionally, and Dreams gave me the opportunity to dabble in that side of um, the game development world. I know it's absolutely nothing like the kinds of things that people do, that game developers do day to day, but it was really cool to have a taste of that kind of thing and be creative with it and have some fun with it. So yeah, I definitely recommend checking it out. Even if you just spend time playing other people's creations, it's really fun. So have a look. Matt, do you have more to share with us?
I must. It must be past the like NDA period now,
Mm.
where at some point, let's say someone called Matt was a playtester for Dreams,
Mm.
and they had a very, very interesting experience playing Dreams. And it is, comparing it to the Unreal Engine, it is a very accessible, it was more just it's a different kind of game engine, but
Mm.
it is still a game engine.
Yeah.
And game engines all run on the same like concepts. So there'll be plenty of people who are getting their first steps in game development through it. I've got a uh, I've got one of my game ideas is an underwater horror game,
Mm.
and I made a horrifying little scene from that. I'll show you to at some point.
Oh, I'd love
Yeah,
to see it. That'd be really
it
cool.
scared the shit out of me,
Yeah.
and I made it. Yeah, so Dreams, very good. My game of the year, absolute, absolute transcendent experience this year has been Hitman.
Hmm.
I've played it on and off over the last couple of years, but this year I've played 1,000 hours of it.
That's so
Um,
many hours.
yeah,
It took me a second now
because
to
So
realise what you
I
said.
was just like,
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
but I didn't have my mic on, so I'm just putting that in there. That's
So-
impressive.
It is.
yeah, so this is partially an answer to my Jem, what you asked about how how much enjoyment one gets out of a game. So my gaming is my like primary um, comfort mechanism, my safety blanket. But I've always had this cycle of, and I don't know if other people have this, where I'll get a game and I'll play it, and if I'm enjoying it, I'll get to sort of like the 60% mark, and then I'll start stressing about when the game's going to end. And then I'm stressing about what the right next game is, because there's always a next game, the right next game that comes along. So, but the end, like that sort of 60, remaining 40% is marred by anxiety about the next game that I'm going to find. And then when I come to the end of it, and then that period when I'm looking for the next game, that period of time is just anxiety and stress. And then I find the right game, and then that cycle repeats and repeats and repeats. And so it makes it hard to fully relax and enjoy fully games. I enjoy it up to a point, but then it sort of gets marred by that.
Mm.
But what Hitman has given me is that it's an infinite game. Then they've got this new mode called Freelancer, where it's basically you're assigned random targets in the levels, and there's just, you could sit down and you can play it and play something completely unique every time. And it's really just satisfying and enjoyable and fun and relaxing. And I came up with the idea of Hitman being sort of my backstop default game, so that when I'm playing, say, The Outer Worlds, for example, I was able to enjoy it all the way through, because I knew that when I got to the end of it, I would have Hitman as that buffer in between that game and the next game, so I could enjoy it right up to play all of it, and then I had Hitman right there for me to bridge onto the next game. And that has worked incredibly well, because it meant that I was able to play Horizon Forbidden West for 6 weeks and play it right up until the absolute end of everything and enjoy it. And then I did the same thing with Spider-Man. And having that kind of unique game be there as that interim thing has completely changed my gaming life. And so for that reason, Hitman is a absolute clear game of the year for me.
Fantastic. Well done. There.
Wow. I just worked it out, and 1,000 hours, it works out at about 83 12-hour days.
Wow.
So that's what, like nearly 2 months, just more than 2 months. Well, about 2 months. No, 3 months. Nearly 3 months. Yeah. So that is impressive. So my last one is going to be Pandemic Legacy board game, because I think we've been playing it for nearly 2 years now, and it's it because it's not like the normal Pandemic, which is just you just replay like a normal board game. This is you, each time you play a specific month within a 12-month year, and it you get two. I think you get two chances to beat the month. And so you play the first half of the month and then you get the second half of the month. And if you lose both of them, then you still move on to the next month, but it changes what you get. So you, depending on whether you win or lose, you get bonuses, or other things to help you through. And the game gets more and more complicated as it goes on, and there's twists and turns, and it's so interesting because you have to tear up cards, you have to stick stuff on the board, stick stuff on cards. So it develops, and I've been playing it with my husband and my mum, and I don't think my mum's ever played any board games like this before, and so it's been a really interesting process. And we unfortunately tend to leave too much time between sessions, so we're always having to relearn everything, so it normally takes twice as long as it should do to play, because there's a lot of like, but what do we do, where are we, but it's just been a really fun game. It's a cooperative game, so it's we're working together as a team to beat the game, and it has been really fun. And yeah, there have definitely been a few arguments and a few sort of like sulky moments, but I sulked quite a lot when one of my characters basically died, and I had to just use one of like the stock characters who's just rubbish, and but it's I find it better than Legacy than the normal Pandemic, because I found the normal Pandemic could get a bit formulaic after you played it a few times. There was like a clear way that you could play it, and also if you play normal Pandemic with somebody who's very much got a plan, then it can feel like you don't get input. One person can control the whole game, but we haven't had that problem with Legacy. There's always a way that you can input. You know, each individual player can engage with an input into it. So we are now on December, and I'm hoping that over the Christmas period we will actually get time to play and finish the game, and then you know what, I'm going to buy the next one because it's just so good, and I would just very happily start all over again and play it again. I mean, that is the downside to it, even though you get this replayability. So effectively you can play it, is it like 24 times, I guess, but once you've done that, that's it. Then you can't play because you've changed the game as you've gone along. So, but it's money well spent, I think, as far as that goes. So that is my final game of the year.
Lovely, thank you, Jem. For mine, I had real trouble thinking of a worst one, so I'm not going to say a worst game. Instead, I'm going to go and tell you about a revisit to an old section of a game, one of my most favourite games of all time, Assassin's Creed Origins, which is set in ancient Egypt. And I just decided I fancied replaying the Discovery Tour, which I know technically isn't a game, it's more of an educational experience. But it was just really nice to be able to chill out and be like, which part of ancient Egyptian life do I want to learn about today? And you can just spend time in the world that they've built inside Assassin's Creed Origins, learn all about the culture at the time, even how they designed the game. There's a couple of behind the scenes bits as well, um, and just you know, just chill out and not have to do any fighting. There's no combat involved or anything. You just you can even go up to certain things and interact with them. So sometimes there's like places where people are making clay pots and you can sit down and start making one with them. And sometimes you can see people mummifying in the process of mummification and you can join them and take part in that as well. Not actually be a mummy, that would be quite something, but it's just somewhere I love to spend time in, being a student of Egyptology, and at times where I needed to just chill out and have all those warm fuzzy feelings again, I thought that is the place to go. So I put it back on and played through it and really enjoyed it this year. After I think it's been about, is it how many years now? Is it 5 years or even longer? It feels like no time at all, but I think it has. It was pre 2020 that the game came out, so at least 3 years, if not longer.
Yeah,
Um,
it was 2017.
was it? Oh my goodness, that's even longer than I thought. Wow, there you go.
We're just judging everything based on the pandemic, aren't we?
Yeah,
Like it was either before
before or
or
after.
after the
Yeah,
pandemic. Everything before was just
yeah. Oh, wow. There you go. I think we have probably come to the end of this chat on our favourite and or best or worst games of 2023, however you'd like to view it. So thank you for joining us. If you've got any favourite games you'd like to share that we haven't talked about, put them in the comments below or just email us or share it with your friends, talk about it on social media. We want to know what were your favourite games or your worst games. Have a rant to us about some of your worst games. We'd like to hear from you as well. And I guess I'm not sure when this episode's being broadcast, but I will say have a happy festive season to everyone watching and listening, however you celebrate it. And as you know, we'll have more content for you every Thursday. Um, and we hope you enjoy Christmas times, gaming times, because there's probably going to be a lot of gaming. I hope for you over the Christmas period. And thank you for supporting us all the way through 2023. So we'll see you again soon. Thank you. Bye.